Be'ez Hashem Pashas Vayetze Tavshin Pei Daled. One of the big yisodos of bitochen is that a person has to get used to the concept that results is not in the hands of a person, ever. A person has the yichodos to be boicher b'toiv, to do good deeds, to learn Torah, to daven, to do hishtadlis and parnosa, to try to get something fixed, to try to solve an issue or a problem. But if that's going to bring the results, Toitzo's results is like bidei shemayim. It's bidei shemayim. And a person could always do mitzvahs and ma'asim tovim and the right thing, whatever they're supposed to do, and daven to the Rebbeinu Shalom, but it's not connected. It's a big avodah, but it's from the fundamental avodas that a person has to do in this world, especially when it comes to the koichi v'otzim yodi factor. That means a person tries to think, I can figure it out, I have pull, I can get my son into this yeshiva, I have friends and family that could help me. And once a person tries, and again, and they see that not necessarily you could do, and lav dafka is going to bring the results, so then they have to understand and chap mainly that even if it did happen and you were matzliach, it wasn't because of you. That's why it's so important for your Yiddishkeit to know that, because if you feel you made it happen, then you're not connected with the Rebbeinu Shalom, you're not understanding the animam, the Eibush is osa v'osa v'yasa l'chol ha'maisim. People that feel that they have it all figured out and they could arrange and make sure this should happen or this shouldn't happen. You can never make sure. You could daven to the Rebbeinu Shalom and do what you are supposed to do and be responsible, but results is in the Rebbeinu Shalom's hands. Now, this is one of the main frustration factors why people get so frustrated in life. Mistama number one reason for frustration, depression, is because, as we have learned many times, that depression, any type of atzvos, is when a person wanted something so badly and it didn't happen. And they tried so hard and they got invested in making every possible zgula, or whatever it is, to try to make that happen, and then it didn't work. We're sorry to tell you that it didn't happen. It pulls down the person so badly, that's so devastating. What's so devastating? Not the actual thing that happened. That's not so devastating. What's more devastating than that is that the person put the whole rotzen into that. And now that it's not like that, it's opposite than what they wanted, and they tried and they put themselves into it, that's what hurts so badly. That's the yesod of simcha and atzvus. It's very important when a person gets prepared and a person says, listen, the Rebbeinu Shalom is gonna run it the way the Eibush knows best how to run the world, and they don't put their whole life to try and make something happen by force, then they don't get so frustrated when something occurs to them, something happens to them, and they didn't want that should be the result.
It's almost more frustrating when you matzliach with the first step. You fight to get the kid into the yeshiva because
right.
You think that's going to turn him around.
Very important.
And then
it's very, very important, because people are convinced when they got the first step that v'horaya, I could make it work. But then it's like it's so embarrassing sometimes that a person put their whole life to try to get to somewhere, and then by the time they got there, it wasn't worth anything. In the Israeli politics, I remember a few years ago, someone was pointing it out, El Chayid was pointing it out, that there was one of the parties that someone put the whole koyach of moyach and money to be able to become the head of the party. Why? Because at the time that party had 34 seats and then he got there after millions of shekel, and he got there. Okay, you made it in life, but then when there was votes to get in to the Knesset, they had 2 seats. They got 2 seats. You got there, no, you made it. You really made it. And then he just walked away and he gave it to someone else. He went on in life. Now, it's very, very important for the Yiddishkeit of a person to chap that don't get so invested to try to get to a certain point, because it's a mistake what you're doing. Right now, you're living in a mistake. Why? Because you feel that if you get to there, you're going to be so... You made it in life. And it's not like that, because the results is not in our hands. So maybe you should stop at an earlier stage. People make that mistake when it comes to the shidduch. The Chazon Ish used to say that you should daven to the Rebbeinu Shalom for a shidduch without Shem u'Malchus. That means without the name. Without giving the Rebbeinu Shalom which shidduch. Daven to the Rebbeinu Shalom. That it should be what's good, but I don't know what's good. Because the results is not in a person's hands, and the arichas yom of a person, nobody knows. He got the best boy, who knows? So that helps a person to never put the rotzen into something specific. Because whenever a person is putting the rotzen into, I want that. If it's anything which is not the Rebbeinu Shalom himself, then a person is mistaking and could very, very easily be devastated and frustrated. Because why do you need that job as a yeshiva in this yeshiva? Because you feel right now that if you're going to have that, then automatically it's going to be this and this results. But if a person wants the Rebbeinu Shalom, that's in the yesod of a person's rotzen. The person was created to have a tshuka, natural rotzen of closeness to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and that's never going to disappoint the person. And that's bigger than the Chaim itself. But this is all examples where a person is supposed to constantly chazer that a person is supposed to do, but then he always should rely on the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Rebbeinu Shalom should bring good results, because it's not connected to what I did. Step number 2 in this sugya is when it's somebody else. That means someone was boicher b'ra, a person decided to do something against me, which is clear that that person is choosing to do aveda, is boicher. Then a person is supposed to remember this, 2 separate stories. If it happened to me, anything that has to do with results is a nes. That person was boicher, it was bechira. It's 2 separate stories. The biggest raya that it was basheret for me to happen is because it happened to me. And if it happened to me, it had to happen. If that person wouldn't be boicher raya, it could have happened 10 other ways, 100 other, 1,000 different mahalchim. It's not connected. So instead of venting and channeling all the upsetness at that person, it's just a mistake. It's still a mistake. I understand the person is devastated, this and this happened to him. They lost money or they're embarrassed or whatever, but it didn't have nothing to do with that person's bechira, even if that person was boicher, and it's going to get oynish for it. And the reason for that is because, let's take it a step weiter, this is really where we want to get to. Because when a person decides to hurt a different Yid, Leoleno, not because Reuven decided to do that, it means that necessarily he's going to have the koyach to bring it out, that he's going to be able to execute. All the time, a person could decide to slap a different person, but that person just moves back. And he gave himself a zetz, or went onto the wall. It's day and night we see this example. It gets demonstrated in front of us constantly. That a person tries, decides, and it doesn't happen. People that are living in Eretz Yisrael constantly are living this awareness that they did this, they did that, but it didn't succeed. This Arab wanted to kill that many Yidden, but it didn't happen. Nice. If you understand that, then you understand that if it did happen, so if it did happen, that means that it's 2 parts of the story that have no connection. 2 parts. One is the bechira of Ra, that person was boicha, he chose to do something that's wrong, and that person has to give dim cheshem to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and is going to have an oynish, and he has to do tshuva, or whatever it is. And the separate part, the Rebbeinu Shalom decided that Shimon should be able to get hurt. It should be able he should be exposed to that nezek that happened, and that has to do with that Shimon's cheshbon, that the Rebbeinu Shalom made that should happen. Example: a person decides to drink and drive, and is flying like a maniac, and crashes and hits a car, 5 people, killed 5 people. He chose to drink and drive, but why did he hit into this car? Punkt. That car of 5 passengers was 3 a.m. going through this intersection. Why? Why was he there? It was Bashert. It was Bashert that he should be there when that person is driving like that. And we could see that so many times he misses, and many times one person does get it and doesn't get it. That's already results. How many times in the same car one person goes out without a scratch, the other person is a levaya. A crash, the exact angle. That's what happened. So it's 2 chalokim: bechira, irstadlus, peulos. It's all Hebrew, all Lashon Kodesh. Bechira is choosing, and irstadlus is doing what you're supposed to, and peulos, action. That's one topic. And then, not connected to that is results, and the Rebbeinu Shalom peers it up. So this is the Hakdama, the introduction to the next part. This is where it gets important. The same is when a person does Aveda. No one else involved. He's the sole actor in the story. A person did Aveda, and this Aveda we have to learn to split the two. The mind, in the mind that the person is deciding and choosing to do this and this avla, and then there's the part 2. Part 2 is if he succeeded to do it, to get all the way. It should be action done. The results of the aveda should happen. It's not connected. It's not connected. The biggest lie that it's not connected is because many times a person tries to do Aveda, he could try, but it's not going, it's not working. How many times does a person have to decide to say something which is not appropriate right now? Someone could get hurt, or the person is now like in the mood of saying something, and someone just interrupts him, and then again, and then it's like, he took out the whole geschmack already. Okay, next. You tried 5 times to say it didn't go. But it's a fact. And the same is with all the regular nisyonos that a person has, that we see many times the person was able to execute the idea, the rotzon of being boicher berah. Right now we're talking about Avedis. And many times, no, it didn't happen. Even though he wanted so badly to do the Aveda. If we chop that, that's very, very important. That's very, very important. So why does the person actually before that? So if it does happen, he does an Aveda, and then you know what happened? He was matzliach. He was successful. He went all the way. So forget about all the other parties. Let's say it's something bin Odom lamokim. It's him and the Rebbeinu Shalom. There's no one else involved. He tried to do Aveda, it didn't go. Tried to do it. He did it, and he did the Aveda. It happened. The person has to get used to the concept. It might be new, it might be deep, but that's what we gave the introduction. That he did Aveda, and he's messed up, and he's going to have to do a big tshuva. But be aware that if it ended up happening, the fact that it happened was bashert. The fact that you were boicher bara, that's the big Aveda here, and that's why you need to do a lot of tshuva now. But not, the ikki issue is not the result. The ikki issue is that you decided to go do the Aveda.
In the Talmud Dvar, you took the koich of the melech.
You took the koich of the melech and you used it. You decided to use it for something that's not appropriate. There's a darshan. If I don't know the name of the darshan. I think it's lately this darshan said over this whole big story of someone, an Arab in Haifa. He says that they almost gave up on him. If he was stabbed or whatever, I think it was in a bomb. That's what he says. That's how he says over the story. And no feet, no hands. They just wanted to let him die. And there was one big doctor in Haifa, he says, Dr. Paz, that decided to work on the child. They said, what are you going to work with? They wanted to cut off the feet, cut off the hand. They said, you're going to give him back to his family in a box. He said, I'm going to take out the sharp nail. I'm going to take out piece by piece. For months and months and months, he decided to work on this patient. And he got out all the sharp that was in the body. And after half a year, this kid was walking on his own feet. Eyesight wasn't lost against all odds. And his hands, he was nice, and he thanked him, and he bought him a present. He said, I don't need presents, this is my job. But you gave me back my life. No. So he says that then the Intifada broke out. And they were throwing stones, big ones. And this Dr. Paz was at an intersection or wherever he was, and this Arab comes over to him with a rock this big, and he wants to drop it on his head, and he tells him, he says his name was Yusuf. He says, Yusuf, you don't recognize me? I'm Dr. Paz. He says, well, now it's different times. Takes the rock and bops it on his head. He's legamri unconscious, laying in the hospital. And stronger, the pain that kid was able to do that to me was stronger than all the pain that he had. Well, like, how could that, how is that possible? So then the darshan went on and said, well, that's what the Talmud Torah says. Talmud Torah says that Eibusha gives us eyesight. The Eibusha gives us mahalchim of thinking and talking. And gewaldige koiches, and then you decided to use it against. That's the bechira, but that's terrible. But now, the second half, that it was matzliach, that it was successful, that was the Eibusha's decision. Now that decision could have many reasons. Many reasons why that decision. The Rebbe Shem decided that the results, you should go till the end. Maybe sometimes a person has siyata d'shmaya, so it doesn't happen. He doesn't have siyata d'shmaya, it does happen. The source to this concept is a Gemara Nozach of Gimel Amud Beis. Bocher Rabbi Akiva cried, he said, if a person, that's a Tosefta, a person had in front of him bosor, meat, and he understood that it's meat, it's pork, you're not allowed to eat it, bosor dovaracha. But he couldn't resist. What should he do? And he went and he ate it. And then they find out that it wasn't. It was basar tle. It was lamb. It was kosher. It was b'seder gomer. So he needs big. He needs tshuva. He needs to do a lot of tshuva. So what does it say in that fascinating Gemara? The Gemara says the results. What's the difference right now? The results. There's a reason why you had siyata d'shmaya. Maybe a different time, you were boicher betoiv. It was very hard. You were on the plane and there was no, and you said, no, I'm not going to eat when I'm not supposed to eat. So now Hashem decided that you should not have timtum aleif. He didn't want that you should have that you ate pork. It's going to affect your learning. So that's a separate decision that the Rebbeinu Shalom made, that you should not be successful. But that doesn't mean that the story, that's a different story. Your part of the story was bad, was nicht getoikt. So now you have to do tshuva, you have to fix it. Now, we must understand this. It's crucial for the next step of the shir. Tachap. People do avlus, and as a result of the aveda, terrible things happen. Terrible zachen. Let's say there was machloikis. Terrible. And then people died in the family. Another one. and another person was diagnosed. It's terrible. And people say, how could I be blind? It's a fact. It's not in Ganzen the way you're looking at it. It's almost, but it's not. The fact that the person is choosing to have machloikes is a gefährliche Sache. But he could have decided to wanting to fight, but it takes two to fight. It takes two. And now he could have been not successful. He's an echte lo yutzlach. He's trying to make fights lo olech. It could happen, and it happens. It happens all the time. People want to embarrass someone, that person starts laughing. He says, that was such a good one. It's a fact that it happens. No, so if the Rebbeinu Shalom decided that he should be successful to really make a mess, that's the Rebbeinu Shalom's decision. That Rebbeinu Shalom's decision most probably is connected to something else that the person did besides what happened now. And many different cheshbonos. But mainly your focus is about your choice. When you do Teshuvah, don't get stuck now. You are doing Teshuvah on the choice. And what happened had to happen. The tzaddikim explain Moshe Rabbeinu was not able to go into Eretz Yisrael because it wasn't possible for his Shoresh Neshama. Al Pi Kabbalah, he had a Shoresh Neshama of Tiferes. It can't go into Eretz Yisrael, not in the Geya. The Chaim HaKadosh explained in many, he brings the Medrash, that if Moshe Rabbeinu would have been in Eretz Yisrael, then if Yidden would have done Chet, they would have done Averis by the Churban Bayis instead of the Beis HaMikdash being burnt down. The Yidden would have been... Moshe Rabbeinu was not a Shidduch with Eretz Yisrael, no matter what. So the Sforim explained that so the Eibishter had to make... that the Eibishter told Moshe Rabbeinu something about taking water out of the rock. And Moshe Rabbeinu shouldn't understand. And bring a matziv of Chet to Moshe Rabbeinu that should be able to say, oh, so now you can't go to Eretz Yisrael. If not that, then it would have been a different mahalach. Even if we understand that this avla brings these results, but it doesn't have to bring these results. It's if the Rebbeinu Shalom, the results are there. The results were there beforehand. And now, because the Eibishter wanted that should happen, so the Eibishter created a situation. A person is always focused on the choice that they made, the matzav that they're in. What's your mahalchi ha-machshova? What are your choices? But the results of those choices, even when it's a oynish for ra, is something that's the chelik that's not in your hands. It's not in your control. Why is it so negeya? It's negeya for the Gemara that we spoke about last week. Rebbe Loza ben Durdaya, he was over on many, many sins, chatoim, averis, and then he tried to shrug off his responsibility from the matzav. That one it's because he blamed until he figured out nobody's to blame. It's only me. And then bocha, and he did Teshuvah. Now, we mentioned in last week's share, it was kind of rough talk, that a person should understand that as long as they're going to be busy pointing fingers, they can never get out of their rut. Why? Because every person has to understand that there's the part that you have a shaykhis, and only because that you have a shaykhis to what happened, that's where you could fix it. Now, most times, it's too hard for people to process, to acknowledge that they're at fault. So because they can't go there because it's too painful, so we have to say, it's not my fault. But the problem is, if you say it's not your fault, you're paying a very heavy price by saying it's not your fault. Because by saying that, you're throwing away the key. There's no way you can't fix it now, because you're saying it's not connected to you. Chaval. For the comfort of the moment, to ease the pain, you said it's nothing to do with me. I had no shaykhis. And even if that person was even more guilty for the matzav. Okay, right now you feel much better. But if you would have said, I am the one at fault, Berega that a person says that in their mind, then they say, okay, so I can fix it. I'm the boss here. It's my matziv. I can take responsibility on the matziv. The main reason why people don't want to say I'm guilty is because it's too painful for their image, for themselves. And they're going to have to take responsibility on the matziv. So it's much easier just to say, I knew nothing about it, it had nothing to do with me. But then, they can't fix it.
But isn't it a sakana? They'll say, I'm going to do tshuva, and then it's going to be refuah for this one. It's on me.
Here we go. That's not the only problem. There's a few big problems with that. But what's the problem? So someone commented on last week's shir. So let me just get the whole shir in short. So anything that ever happens to me, I'm to blame, and that's basically what I'm supposed to understand. So you could hear from the voice behind the comment something's unhealthy here. But that's what it says in the Gemara. Ein ador b'toli elobi. Oh, so listen. Here we get to action and result. When and why do people feel that it's so painful to go to that place that I'm the one that's guilty for the matziv? I'm the one to blame. That's when they connect their shaykhs to the story to the results of the story. That means a person died. A person is a bas shava, what? And listen, you were careless, and you should just know, now 10 years later, today was supposed to be his bar mitzvah. Those kind of mashavas. He could have now been successful man with a family, and you because of stupid carelessness, you did this and that, you did it. That's when a person falls apart. They fall apart. And not only when it's exactly this marshal, in any type of marshal that you see unfolding, someone died or different, very, very painful matzah, it's because of you. Because you did it. But the Gemara says you have to say, Ein ador b'toli elobi. Here's the spalt. The results was Bashet. My connection to the matziv is, why do I have to do tshuva? Is because I chose to do something that's very, very careless, that connects me to that matziv. And that's why I have to say Ein ador b'toli elobi for the future. For now and weiter. What does the Gemara say? The Gemara doesn't say that the Elazar ben Rudai did Averis, and he tried to blame, and then Hashem said, don't blame anybody. You are so bad. Your essence is bad. Don't now look at anybody. That's not what the Gemara says. That's not the bottom line. The bottom line is, there's nowhere to run besides to do something right now, which only you could do. Only you could do. Why you did so many Averis and no other person got so far? Very possible that you had a big Yetzer Hara. Very possible that there are maybe few people in the world that have such a strong Yetzer Hara and that their Bechira is Daka Menadaka because it's so hard for them. Very, very possible. But that doesn't contradict the Ein ador b'toli elobi at all. The question is, what are you thinking now? What are you planning to do about the matziv? You chose, a person is supposed to understand, the person was boicher b'ra many times in their life. Maybe they had a little bechira, maybe it was very, very tough. Maybe very few people in the world would be able to be boicher b'toiv under those circumstances. Very possible. Right now, a person sees results. Results is showing the person. Result is like an indicator to the person how bad being boicher b'ra is. These specific results, how they unfold in this world, had many reasons that should happen. But now that you were boicher b'ra, it's linked to you. It's linked to you in a sense that you should feel you had a shaykhis to it. You had a shaykhis to it. Because if you wouldn't be boicher b'ra, could be it would have happened. But you wouldn't have had a shaykhis to this. It wouldn't be connected. Now a person is doing tshuva on the fact that he feels terrible. Mainly he's supposed to feel terrible on getting further from the Rebbeinu Shalom by causing the tsar, by causing a tsar for the Shechina. Now, the Rebbeinu Shalom gave us a way to experience and understand a little bit, how it feels the tsar from the Shechina. Well, how? By seeing death in this world. But don't now get stuck with this specific result, because there could have been many different reasons why this would have happened anyways.
When you're on Kesar, that he decided not to be machriv the Beis Hamikdash. He said, Baruch Chpuri,
right. He went away.
The Churban happened.
The Churban happened anyways. Churban had to happen. This was now the matzav. He was boicher b'toiv to walk away, so now it wasn't linked to him. Nebuchadnezzar that did come around, okay, now he had to get the oynish. But the Churban would have happened. Now this is supposed to help us the process that whenever a person goes through a terrible story, and it says Yifashpesh b'maisav, and people feel I'm not capable to go to that place. I can't handle it. I mean, death. People have guilty feelings the whole day. That because of them, if they would have done that, if they would have done that, if they would have done this school, if they would have done this action, a whole day. It's such a mistake. It's such a mistake. You really think like that? This cheshbon Shemayim. This had to happen. If someone would have told you the other skula, it's not, it's nonsense. But then, 1 second, how do you explain that to the Mamora Chazal? That they say that Yefashpesh b'maisov and Ein Yisurim b'lochet. Don't be now busy that you could have changed the results. Don't go into that oilam. That's an unhealthy world. You could feel that it's unhealthy. It schleps down a person. That's not the mahalach is that a person is supposed to understand. Okay, I just experienced something. Hashem is talking to me because it happened around me, like a kvutza that someone was nifta. Yidagunu, that the Chazal say that if they have a group of people, and one of the people of that group was nifta, Yidagu kol chabura. Echad mibnei chabura shemeis. Yidagu, everybody. Why? Because Hashem is talking to you. If Hashem talks to you, try to figure out. There's a lot of things that a person should have charata that they were boicher bara, and because of their bechir bara, they caused tzar for the Shechina, and Hashem showed it to you.
Like you said in one of the shiurim, though, if it's not something you see a direct connection, everyone in the chabura, there's endless things that you did that could be.
Right.
You don't know which one might have.
Yeah, we don't know. So when a person starts understanding that they should look inwards, what they should fix, and what they are being boicher bara, what they're not doing well, that in itself is not so painful. That's possible, but you could fix it. You could fix, you could change, you could be'emes rebuild. You could do many. Not only you could do toy for the future, you could undo harm. Let's add to that. We know there's a Gemara Masechtas Avodah Zorah. Ene Kodesh Baruch Hu bo betrunya in Briyosef, meaning Hashem doesn't test a person with kalim, with tools that they don't have. Sometimes people feel that they were tested with something that they couldn't have been matzliach. Any connection ishba situation is they couldn't have done better because they didn't know. They couldn't have known. And every person is like that because there's no knowledge as strong as experience. Person wasn't set up in a way that when they're young, they know everything. Be'em is the right, richtige. They have to fail in order to be able to do the right thing. One of the yesoides of Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu Bo, that means that the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't test the person unless he has the tools, it is that it doesn't have to be that he has the tools to do it right the first time around. You have the tools to be able to fix afterwards. You have the tools to understand what happened, to be able to fix. And then a person could do tshuva me'ahava, and then he could not only undo the damage, he could come to a much better place. He could, all the averes could turn into schuyos. So Hashem is always going to give you, maybe first time around, maybe second time around, we're always going to give you opportunity.
This explains also in the case where it's something you can't change. Someone died.
Mm-hmm.
You do big tshuva on it, and they say the tshuva works, even though there's not going to be a tchias amazing now on the person because of your tshuva. But that wasn't what you had to fix. That person was b'shem.
That's why it's so important. If a person killed someone, and he's trying to do tshuva, he's saying, yeah, but as much tshuva I'm going to do, I can't revive it. There's no tchias amazing right now in the moment. So how's it possible? The answer is that the part that you have to do tshuva on is about the choice. Now, let's say something, it's a bit deep. Some people might feel, Baruch Hashem, only on the choice to kill? Okay, I could do that on a day. The tshuva for that. If I have to regret that if someone died and you saw him, that's terrible. That I don't know how I'm ever going to fix. But only, that's it, only on the choice? Baruch Hashem, I think I'm done. I learned my lesson. No, what's the yisod? It's the amurdige tshuva to that. The tshuva is that the Rebbeinu Shalom wants you to do a level of charata, of regret. The feeling that you have that you did it, that's the level of charata you have to have on a choice. Why? Because a person in this world doesn't even chap how bad it is. The only way to be able to present the person with the metzias, with the reality, what's going on, what's happening to himself when he does Aveda, how he's pushing off the Geula when he does Aveda, the tzar that the Shekhinah has is by seeing on the spot, wow, I did it to myself. But the emes is that the problem is the choice. But he must see it in that light, so he should be able to chab the broch. And at the same time, he has a very deep chalat, and he cannot believe he did this. But at the same time, he understands that's only the moshel. The nimshel you could fix. That's the chutasayda. That's where the sugi of Eina Davatoli Elabi drives through. This spalt, this nekuda. On the one hand, a person understands that everything that's happening to him, everything is because of his ma'aseh. Everything. The Eibush is mida connected mida, and a person has so many chatoyim, and that's where everything is happening to him. But everything is betzem only mashalom, and the conversations that the Rebbeinu Shalom has with him. But this specific result would have happened anyways. So if you could put yourself in a place that you could chap to stand with one foot on the choice, and with the moshel of the story, that means to have a deep charata on the choices you made and the richuk from the Rebbeinu Shalom, then a person understands that he could bemis fix everything. And then he doesn't have to be haunted by the fact that he created this. No. I could fix it. I could fix it because it's the choice that's the problem. That's also why you could find another way to explain. You could find different people in the same shul, and you see very choshev people that they're struggling and suffering on such a high level. It's painful, and different people that are, they don't have so much Yireh Shamayim b'dafke, and Baruch Hashem, not only is the gate good, the Baruch Hashem have nachas. That's like the cherry on the top, and you're like, yeah. So I'm going through this because I'm the bad one. It doesn't make sense. Come on. It doesn't add up. And a person is upset and frustrated. Why? And then there's the guy that gives the shia and says, yeah, you're the one. Don't point at anybody. It's not only that it hurts. Mostly the reason why it really hurts is because why are you talking if you don't understand? I promise you don't understand. Because it's so. When does a person get really frustrated? When they know that what that person is saying is not true. They know with the deepest fiber of it's not true what you're saying. So and you're using it to point finger at me that I'm the one that's fault. It doesn't make sense what you're saying. But if we try to put the piece of the puzzle together, then es stimmt. That means like this. The specific results, that's much, much higher than our understanding why this had to happen, that had to happen, a person had to have a zivuk sheni. Of course it would show you up there. So it happened through the Shatchen lie, the Cher. That Shatchen has a separate story, but this would have happened. Of course it would have happened. No matter what, this should happen. Now, the person is experiencing pain, and the pain that they're experiencing is showing them that they have to do tshuva on certain choices that they made. And on those choices, they have to do tshuva. And it goes even deeper than that if a person did something that's gerechnet aveda, even if they didn't have much options, but the enemy is going to have to be mezuchach. Like Yaakov Avinu with the 22 years of kibbud avaim. Yosef Tzaddik was away 22 years because he was away from his father 22 years. But his father told him to run away. It doesn't make a difference. So of course, if he didn't do kibbud avaim. What does that teach us? That teaches you that I have to do tshuva on something, not because I'm looked at as a bad person. I have to do tshuva on something because I'm missing something. Hashem wants to return it to me. Part of my nefesh. It could have been a different giggle. It could have been because there was no choice. I had to do it anyways. But when a person could understand that when the Torah is using the word, you should fix something, it's only coming from a place that the Torah is looking up. The Torah believes in you. We're not now looking down. So there's nothing to do. It's about something is missing for your neshama to be able to go and learn Torah b'ma'ala shamala with the Rebbeinu Shalom. Even if sometimes you didn't even make a bad choice, like by Yaakov Avinu. So it's not connected to that person's bechira. You're comparing two people in the shul. It's not possible to compare because like a million reasons. Right now you have a tzaddik, a medaktik and imebechut asayra. Medaktik and imebechut asayra is we need to do some cleaning to this neshama. And the result is only a way to explain to him that he needs to, but it's about changing the inside, not about changing the outside. When a person chaps, that ain't another tolu is opportunity. Every situation where a person finds themselves in a mess is opportunity. Don't lose the opportunity. The opportunity to fix in your mind shouldn't be blocked by psychological blockages that don't want to let you fix it, because if I'm going to plead guilty, then I'm not going to be able to handle. Don't let that happen to you, because it might be the best opportunity you have in your life. Hashem is sending you a simon, and it doesn't mean don't worry about the fact that if you're going to say that, then Lo'ilam Vod is going to say in the history books that you killed 10 people. Al Pi Emes, it's not like that. Two separate stories. If a person chaps, then a person could look at it from both angles at the same time. Not easy b'chlal, but a person has to figure out the way to be moedic b'simcha and try to fix Sachen. The Hashem brings situations, results, a mess to a person around and around, so he should know what to fix. So it's like, and I just saw they move around the Kippad Barzel from place to place to protect. Hashem sometimes takes a painful situation and puts it next to you. Why? So you should know what to fix. So you should think that you caused it. But it's not about that you taka caused it. It's all about you should have the understanding what to fix. It's like a X-ray machine that lights up. Oh, here's something dark. Okay.